synapsing in one of the chain ganglia?
No.
No. You see that some of the greens converge and make their way to some ganglia.
Some ganglia being just like randomly placed.
All right, let's take a peek. Kind of see where these are showing as coming out, grouping together, and it's making its way to a ganglion. But it's got a particular name. I think, is that the celiac?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Then the next grouping that's getting represented makes its way to the superior mesenteric. The next grouping makes its way to the inferior mesenteric. If you look at this page right here where it says abdominal, or did I say abdominal pelvic components? The reason I printed this one off for you is it's trying to give you the representation of where those are located in the regions. So it doesn't synapse, so those grouping of fibers, those grouping of those greens simply pass through the chain, make their way to one of these three ganglia, and that's where they synapse. Does that make sense?
Is it?
Dustin?
So like the ones that are on the ganglion synapse there, and then the ones that go to like the celiac, they're like extensions of, right? I'm sorry, I'm just trying to...
No, because that's what I'm trying to point out, okay? Now, look to that first grouping that occurs, okay? Note they show those 1, 2, 3, 4 green fibers simply pass through my chain ganglia, converge, and make their way to the celiac. And it's there where they synapse. Does that make sense?
There with the 4 superior above it, right? Or the 4 that just connect below that initial.
Now, these 4 that are not where they're just showing, okay. Now, all right, well, first of all, did everybody understand what I just explained about those 1, 2, 3, 4 that pass right through the chain and make their way to the celiac? All right, and that's where they synapse. These 4 above it, the 1, 2, 3, 4 above it, they move up the chain and synapse and exit. Okay? Does that make sense? Now, if you look down here at the bottom of the chain, there is a part of the chain that continues to move down where it looks like it goes below that sacral region, okay? Note that fibers will come across and move down and synapse and go to pelvic organs. Does everybody see that? So, in this division, some of the fibers synapse directly in the chain ganglia. Some pass through and synapse in one of 3 other ganglia that exist: the celiac, superior, or inferior. Does that make sense on the synapsing? Okay. Once they synapse, it kind of shows where these fibers go, what they innervate, that sort of thing. And this is my sympathetic So it means it's working to do that fight or flight. In the whole grouping of this division, there's one that stays green. Did anybody notice that?
Mm-hmm. To the adrenal medulla.
To the adrenal medulla. The adrenal gland, which sits right on top of the kidneys. Any idea what that might do to us? What that does? What that releases? What that
Adrenaline.
adrenaline. Whoa! That's telling me some information, though. It's telling me this autonomic nervous system synapses directly on cells of that adrenal gland, the medulla. Medulla means to the inside, on this case. That tells me that those cells in the medulla of that adrenal gland sitting on top of that kidney are modified nerve cells. And that's why they release the lovely chemicals that we know as adrenaline.
One last question is, as far as the chain ganglia, I don't know if it's just for the picture, but or is it bilateral, or so are both sides going to be the same?
When you
Or is
look,
it as depicted?
okay, so they're trying to show you that those fibers move through the chain ganglia to those ganglia, but when you look at where those actual ganglia are located, when you look on this picture, note that when you look at the abdominal aorta that's running the length of the abdomen, you'll see that it's trying to show you the location of the superior mesenteric and then the inferior mesenteric, and then they're trying to show you an area that would be considered the celiac trunk, and above that, the celiac ganglion. It's almost like as it leaves the spinal cord, even though it's saying it's a long fiber, it doesn't have very far to go to actually get to the ganglia to synapse. So those ganglia are located like right here in the abdominal region, very close to blood supplies.
Well, so I guess I probably didn't word it correctly. So, but I'm saying both sides, the initial chain ganglia will have nerves that will come out, and they'll both meet to that on the same level.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So as you're looking at these, where they're trying to represent them here, they're just not showing them to us, but those fibers would be exiting and going.
So like the
Synaptic?
presynaptic one that's going to the adrenal medulla, that one synapses at that spot, right?
Yes. So in other words, whatever information from the autonomic nervous system, it's not stopping by way of the chain ganglia. It's not stopping by way of those, one of those three ganglia. It's making its way completely to the adrenal gland so that the adrenal gland can release its products, and it's like that it happens. People tend to say that adrenaline rush. Some people are like really addicted to that, so they do stuff like the jumping out of planes, jumping off of buildings, riding those things that do this number and that number and all that sort of stuff, okay? Because they are addicted to that adrenaline rush they get from it. I'm not. I have plenty of those MAOI inhibitors. No, I'm good. Right here. I'm good. So, did the picture help explain
Yes.
this? So that sympathetic division, the fibers exit from areas that are the thoracic or the lumbar region. And they go to serve organs, glands that they are connected to. This is actually a crosscut of a cadaver and trying to give us ideas of the chain that we're trying to represent on the model over here. So giving us an idea of the exit, because remember, one of the things that they've got to do, they need that area of the spinal nerve coming through that vertebra, okay? We need to be able to have a route to get to the chain. So that's where we end up needing that part, that exit through the vertebra, that the spinal nerve exits through. And this right here is the picture we just looked at, that hopefully shows how we get innervation to the skin, which means our blood vessels and stuff like that. So that's where things begin to take place in the skin, all right? Because if it's sympathetic, we've got to increase blood flow there. We're increasing blood flow to muscles, that sort of thing. And then how it's innervating into the organs. Now, in the case of excitatory, inhibitory, on organs, for example, like the lungs and the heart, the neurotransmitter that's getting released would be excitatory. Increase that heart rate, increase that respiration rate. But meeting areas of my digestive system, the neurotransmitter is inhibitory. Because at the time of sympathetic stimulation, they're shut down. Does that make sense? About being excitatory or inhibitory?
What is the neurotransmitter that's inhibitory?
We're going to find that we still can have in the neurotransmitters present. We can still have acetylcholine, okay? But we will find that we have other neurotransmitters like the norepinephrine and so forth.
Okay.
So there are other neurotransmitters that are present. And their job, though, changes. Whereas, for example, acetylcholine, the only thing it can do to skeletal muscle is stimulate. But now, with the autonomic nervous system, we find acetylcholine can inhibit.
So the same neurotransmitter that we were originally thinking can only stimulate and fire off, it can in another system do both.
Yep,
okay.
It can inhibit. So the sympathetic division, all right? The connection, and we're going to look at a picture of this. Is the picture next on the slide? Okay. Take this other picture that we've got right here. Okay? Woo! Look at those green fibers coming from that lateral horn. What do you think?
They're green.
They're green.
Presynaptic fibers.
They kind of look like they're just all over the place. Actually, it's really simple. We're gonna look at it. Do you remember what the term rami meant from part 1?
It's like the little branches.
Like a little projection. Okay? We're going to find we have a projection with that. Remember, I keep saying the route of the spinal nerve. I keep saying